If you're a boater in Chicago, I already know something about you. Every October, sometimes earlier, you pull your boat out of the water. You winterize it, cover it up, and then you wait 6, maybe 7 months before you touch it again. More than half your year spent waiting. And every single fall, when you're doing it, there's that moment, you know the one, where you stop and think, why am I still doing this? I want to be upfront. I'm not from Chicago, but I'll tell you who is. A lot of my clients. I've helped families from the Chicagoland area find their place down here, and the conversations are always the same. They come down for a visit, they're sitting poolside on the lanai of their Airbnb watching the boats go by, and they turn to each other and say, we could actually live like this. And I figured if you're sitting up there right now in the middle of summer, enjoying the few good months you'd get, just wait, because October is coming. And if you've ever thought about what it would look like to stop spending 6 months a year waiting to get back on the water, this is the video you need to watch. I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral waterfront realtor, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. So let's start with the basics for anyone who hasn't spent much time down here. Cape Coral is on the southwest Gulf Coast of Florida in Lee County, right across from the Caloosahatchee River from Fort Myers. It's not a small town. Cape Coral is actually one of the largest cities by land area in the entire state of Florida. But what makes it completely unlike anywhere else in the country is the water. Cape Coral has over 400 miles of navigable canals, more than any other city in the world. I want you to really hear that number because it's not a marketing line, it's just a fact. 400 miles. These aren't decorative ponds or retention lakes. These are real canals, most of them wide enough to handle a serious boat, connected through a system that feeds into the Caloosahatchee River and from there straight out to the Gulf. When you own a Gulf access home in Cape Coral, your backyard is connected to all of it. You pull out of your boat lift, idle through the canal, and you're on your way. No trailering, no marina, no waiting for a launch ramp on a Saturday morning. Your boat lives behind your house in the water, ready when you are, every single day of the year. Now I want to spend a minute on Gulf access because this is one of the most important things to understand before you start shopping for homes in Cape Coral. And it's something a lot of buyers get confused about. Not every canal in Cape Coral is Gulf access. Now the city has two types of canals: freshwater canals that are landlocked and do not connect to the river or the Gulf, and saltwater canals that are part of the connected system that leads out to open water. Now, if you're a serious boater, you want saltwater Gulf access, full stop. See, within Gulf access properties, there's another variable: bridges. Some canals have fixed bridges over them, and depending on your boat's bridge clearance, that can limit where you can go or what size boat you can run. When I'm working with boater clients, I always ask about their boat first. What are you running? What's your beam? What's your height? Those answers tell me exactly what to look for and what to avoid. And then there's a question of how far you are from open water. Now, some homes are a 5-minute idle to the river. Others might take 25 or 30 minutes or even more. Both can work depending on your lifestyle, but it's something you want to know before you fall in love with the house. This is exactly the kind of thing we talk through on a strategy call before you ever get on a plane. I want you to picture 2 Saturday mornings in January. Now the first one is in Naperville. It's 7 degrees, there's ice on the driveway, your boat is in storage where it's been since October and won't come out until May. You're inside looking out the window and the weekend stretches out in front of you with nowhere to go. Now picture the second one. It's January in Cape Coral. It's 74 degrees by 9 o'clock in the morning. You walk out the back door, step onto your dock, pull the boat off the lift, and by 9:30 you're clearing the canal and pointing the bow toward open water. Maybe you're island hopping to Cayo Costa for a few hours on a beach that has no roads, no cars, and no crowds. Maybe it's a fishing run out towards Boca Grande where the tarpon are. Maybe you're pulling up to a waterfront restaurant in Matlacha or Fort Myers for a late lunch, tying off right out front. Maybe you find one of those hidden beaches that only people who come by boat ever see. Now the point is the whole Gulf is in front of you and you have all day. That's not a fantasy, that's just Saturday in Cape Coral. And that contrast, that specific feeling of a January weekend with nowhere to go and everywhere to go, is exactly what drives Chicago boaters to pick up the phone and call me. One of the questions I get a lot from Chicago buyers is, okay, Barry, I can get on the water any day I want, but where am I actually gonna go? So let me answer that. From a golf access home in Cape Coral, you have some of the best boating destinations in the entire country within reach. Sanibel and Captiva Islands are a short run across the river and up the coast. Sanibel is world famous for shelling, beautiful beaches, and a laid-back pace that's hard to find anywhere else in Florida. Now, Captiva is smaller, quieter, and has some great waterfront restaurants that you can pull right up to by boat. Cayo Costa State Park is one of the most unspoiled barrier islands in the Gulf Coast. No roads, no cars, no development. You anchor offshore and spend the day on a beach that looks like it did 100 years ago. This is the kind of place that makes Chicago boaters realize what they've been missing. Fort Myers Beach is a quick run and gives you everything you want from a beach town. Restaurants on the water, bars, live music, lunch by boat on a Friday afternoon. Now, Lover's Key is a beautiful stop for a quieter day. Great shelling, kayaking, and a peaceful stretch of beach that doesn't get the same crowds as some of the bigger spots. Boca Grande, up on Gasparilla Island, is a favorite for serious boaters. It's known as the tarpon fishing capital of the world. And the town itself has a classic old Florida feel that a lot of people absolutely fall in love with. Now let's talk about fishing, because this area is world class and it deserves its own moment. Now, if you want to run offshore, you're heading out into the Gulf for grouper and snapper. These are real fish on real gear, and on a good day, you're coming home with a cooler full. If offshore isn't your thing, the back bays and estuaries around Pine Island Sound and Charlotte Harbor are some of the best inshore fishing in the country. Snook, redfish, and tarpon, the holy trinity of inshore fishing in Southwest Florida. Anglers travel from all over the world to chase those three species, and you have access to that fishery right from your backyard every single day of the year. And then there's the dining. One of the things that surprises Chicago buyers the most is how good the waterfront dining scene is here. Matlacha, which is just a short ride from Cape Coral, is a funky little fishing village with great seafood and one-of-a-kind atmosphere. Cape Coral itself has a growing waterfront restaurant scene along the river, and Fort Myers has options ranging from casual dockside spots to genuinely excellent restaurants where you arrive by boat and tie up right out front. When you live here, a Saturday isn't just a day off. It's a choice between a dozen different adventures, all of them accessible from your own backyard. Now let's talk money, because this is where it really gets interesting for Chicago buyers. See, a lot of my clients come down here expecting Cape Coral to be out of reach, and then they start running the numbers. In the Chicago suburbs, say Naperville, Glenview, Arlington Heights, the kind of home your family lives in right now, that's probably $700,000 to $900,000 depending on your neighborhood. No water, no boat dock, no year-round anything. Now here in Cape Coral, you can get into a golf access home for as little as $600,000. Now I want to be honest with you about what that means, because this is where a lot of buyers get tripped up. At that price point, you're likely looking at an older home that needs some updating, or a location with a longer traverse to open water. It's a real entry point, but it comes with trade-offs worth understanding before you start shopping. Now at $800,000, the picture changes significantly. Now you're in an updated golf access pool home with a dock and a boat lift in a genuinely good location. Step up to $1 million and you're in a newer home in an excellent location with the kind of water situation every serious builder is looking for. That's not a pitch, that's just the math. And for a lot of my clients, they're either selling a Chicago home to fund this, or they're keeping Chicago and using Cape Coral as their winter base. Both scenarios work, and I've helped people do both. I worked with a couple from the Chicago suburbs, both in their early 50s, kids grown in out of the house. He'd been a boater his whole life, Lake Michigan in the summer, the chain on weekends. They'd been talking about making a move for years, but kept putting it off. The timing wasn't right. Work was busy. They weren't sure they were ready. Finally, they just came down for a long weekend to see what Cape Coral was actually about. They rented an Airbnb on the water, had their coffee on the lanai the first morning, watched a couple of boats go by, heading out for the day, and something shifted. Now by the second day, they wanted to see homes. By Sunday night, they were serious. We went under contract 6 weeks later and closed a month after that. At closing, he said to me, "Barry, we should have done this 3 years ago." And I hear some version of that from almost every Chicago buyer I work with. Not because they have regrets about their life back home, but because the moment they get here and feel what this lifestyle is like in January, when their friends are shoveling driveways, they realize the leap they were so nervous about wasn't nearly as big as they thought it was. Here's what I want you to do. If you watch this whole video, you're not just casually curious, you're thinking about this. So let's talk. I do a free strategy call with buyers just like you. We go through your situation together, your timeline, your budget, what you're looking for in a home, and I tell you exactly what that gets you in Cape Coral right now. No fluff, no sales pitch. You hang up that call knowing whether this makes sense for you or not. That's it. The link to book is right below this video. It takes about 30 seconds and I keep the spots limited so I can give every call the time it deserves. And if you're not quite ready for that conversation yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm making videos specifically for Chicago and Midwest buyers covering everything from how to plan your first trip down here, what to look for on a property tour, how the buying process works from out of state, all of it. I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral waterfront realtor. Stop waiting for May. The water is right here.